Neighborhood called Belterra out in Dripping Springs. You know, I came out here. This is also where Jester King is. And I showed up and apparently they're having some kind of like art show. It's getting pretty packed and it's still early afternoon. So in this series of videos, what I like to go through is look at a particular neighborhood and see not just what the houses are listed for, like you see on Zillow or Trulia or Redfin or any of those, but what they're actually selling for. So I like to call this true prices, right? You know, if you're looking to buy in the next couple months or in the next year or so, you can see kind of what the market's doing at a more granular level. So this is for the nerds out there. If that's not for you, might as well click off. If you're absolutely analytical and nerdy, then let's take a look at the true prices in Belterra. So the first thing is I've got the MLS open. So the Austin MLS, I'm checking a couple boxes here. So I have active, under contract, pending, and closed. Obviously, if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that closed is the only thing that truly matters when it comes to an actual appraised value of a home. Everything else, so if it's active, it doesn't mean it's going to sell. I've had listings that people want to price it 100, 200,000 more than it's actually worth. I show them the numbers, the closed, the comps, and they're like, yeah, but I want to get this. And it's like, okay. And then it sits and it sits. And I said, okay, are we ready to have a real conversation? So you need to think about that. If you're considering selling anywhere in the Austin area, but specifically for looking at this neighborhood, Belterra. Okay, so we've got closed. Next is I'm checking the box that says single family. I'm not touching anything else. And in the subdivision, I'm putting Belterra. And so just so I can be clear that I've selected the right area, I'm going to check out the map. I'm also using my phone's Wi-Fi and I'm recording and I'm on a Chromebook. And I didn't bring my Surface laptop today. So now that the map is loaded, I can confirm that this is absolutely the neighborhood that I'm focusing on. Just like I had mentioned before, green is your active. Yellow means someone submitted an offer and it was accepted, but it's not gone yet, right? Something could still fall out. You could have an issue with lending or something. And then red here is actually closed. Okay, so we get to see. And one thing that's really important whenever you're looking at comps like this is if there's a neighborhood or a home off to the side, that's going to be a factor in there for buyers, right? Maybe it has more privacy. Maybe it takes longer to get to the main road and they don't like that. Right? Maybe it's across the street and it's a completely different style of development because it was done a year or two later. So you have to be cognizant of that when you're looking at these comps. Okay, so now I'm going to look at them line by line and check out the actual data. Okay, so now we're looking at the data. I'm going to quick run through. If you need more detail, I talk about this in almost every video. So over to the left, you have your status, whether or not it's active, under contract, pending, or closed. Then you have the address, number of bedrooms, full bathrooms, half baths, garages. Is it a single story or a two-story? The year built. Acres. Okay, so acres are obviously important because more land oftentimes or generally more value, at least here in Texas Hill Country type area. Then you want to look at square footage. Okay, square foot's important because I have a lot of clients that'll come and say, hey, I'm listing my home. I say, okay, how big is it? Or I'm looking to buy a home. How large? It's just one of those questions that people ask. How much space do you need? And so that's really relevant when you get over to the list price and the list price per square foot. Okay, so I'll use this first example, this Catalina. The list price is $524,000, but it's less than 200 square feet. So that gives me a list price of $274 a square foot. And now I can go down and look and see, well, what is everything else going per square foot? Remembering, of course, number of bedrooms matters, size of the acres, the year built, all of those things matter, even if it's a single story versus a two-story. So don't just jump on it and say, well, I can go price per square foot and that's my answer. It's not how it works. If there's a pool in there, price per square foot is not the only answer. And then I'm moving over to the side of here. So closed price per square foot, closed price, the date it actually closed, and then how many days it sat on market. There's a difference between days sat on market and cumulative days on market. I'm going to use this one as an example. So this line, Manchester, I'm going to check this box. So it's 29 days on market, 32 cumulative days. Something happened there where maybe it went on market and then they took it off for the weekend because they were going to be out of town and didn't want to go through showings, and then they put it back on. So you always want to keep that in mind. Now, as I'm scrolling down, and this is the most important aspect for us to look at, is the closed price per square foot. So I'm looking at Drury. It was listed at $244 a square foot, closed at $234 a square foot. If you do the math, what percentage is that? I'm not pulling out my calculator right now, but you want to figure out what percentage off are they getting on that particular home. That's the data that a lot of buyers want to know right now. Is it 12%? Is it 13%? Okay, so you do the math and you figure that out. Same here. So it's listed at $246, sold for $239. And this is the value of the MLS, realtors, and understanding how broker cooperation works, right? There's all these lawsuits happening and people are saying, oh, well, nobody told us this. I'm here to tell you. Okay, same here. So I'm looking at most of these houses in this area are selling for less than price per square foot. But you got to keep in mind. So I'm going to look at this in Canto, for example. It actually sold for more per square foot. There's a phenomenon after the pandemic where people were pricing way too high. But a good solid agent and a seller that actually is motivated to sell their house will understand that the market today, you actually want to price less. You don't want to price more, right? Because then it'll sit longer. But if you price less, you can often end up in a situation like this. So look, 253 versus 254. They actually got more for their house. Maybe they priced it well. Whenever a real estate agent says we've priced it well, that's what we're referring to. We know that we're going to beat out our competition because we're either undercutting them or we know that we have a good priced home for the value. Okay. And look, so it sold not only for more price per square foot, but also in 5 days. This is in Belterra. So now I'm going to go look at this house. What the heck happened with this particular house? Why is it so nice? Okay. So why did this particular home move so quickly? So I open it up, I look at the pictures, I look at the property tax rate, I look at all this information. I like to go backwards sometimes just to see, because photographers and real estate agents sometimes put the bad pictures, the not as good pictures in the back. And so I like going backwards and see. So this doesn't look bad at all. I'm noticing there's no pool or anything. Okay, it's an elevated lot. So you got to think about that. I personally wouldn't like that, but someone thought this was a great idea. Good for them. And it's got the stairs leading up. And you can do a lot with this. My first thought is, okay, well, what about the runoff? If water pools there, oh, I see. So they left that as natural grass. They probably have French drains here, and then they have turf in the back. So that's fun. Put a little putting green. Their back patio. So their back patio is a nice little cozy area for them to hang out. But if they really want to invite people over, they're going up on that ledge and going further back. And then they have, it looks like a good chunk of land. Okay. Washer, dryer. Oftentimes, so there's carpet throughout the house. I like these with the split, with the bathroom in the center. I think there's a really popular design style right now. And the tile on it, but they didn't change out any of the fixtures or the mirrors or put any hardware on the cabinets. It's not really necessary. It's a new enough build where I don't think the buyer cares so much, because if they wanted it, they would put it on there. Most of the rooms seem to have high ceilings. I'm looking at the primary bedroom, has high ceilings. And this media room. Okay, so let's talk through media rooms. Media rooms, in case you don't know, do not have a window in there, people, okay? People are like, oh, I've got a media room. And then I'm like, yeah, but there's a window. No, you got to block it out. A true media room. So a little dining nook. So this is a beautiful home. And I'd have to double check the builder, but I almost think it's a Highland home based on the build style with your staggered tile floors. So the ceiling in the living room isn't that, I mean, it's high, don't get me wrong. It's probably, that's not 20 feet, because this door is probably at 10. So 15, let's go 14, 15. It vents out, good space. A lot of people like when the kitchen island sink faces the living room, because then they can wash dishes while the family's watching TV. That happens a lot. A pot filler. Okay, so this is a beautiful house, good build. Okay, so that gives us an idea of this particular house, and it went for $254 a square foot, and it's over a quarter acre, 3,000 square feet large, 4 bedrooms, which is a huge benefit, 3 full baths, and it's 3,000 square foot, built in 2019. So this is solid. Our property tax rate is 2.24, which equals about this. And this is obviously estimate. Everybody's different. If you have a homestead exemption or if you're a VA or disabled, then it's going to be a different number. And then the next thing is you have $150 HOA quarterly. So now I'm just going to go back to that list one more time and go to our single line, right? And this is the conversation that I have with my sellers as we're looking through. I say, think about your house in reference to this one. Okay. It is X number of square feet, quarter acre. And how does it compare in this regard, right? People look on Zillow. My Zestimate says, I don't care what your Zestimate says. I care that right now, this is what has sold and for what price. And this is what the appraised value is often going to match versus how does my competition look? This person's got it listed at $317 a square foot for a 3-bedroom house. Right? It better be real nice, but it's been sitting on the market for almost 2 months, which is average right now in the Austin, Texas area. That's okay. I'm just saying, you look at the competition. Okay? That's how you judge whether or not it's time to augment the price, whether or not you priced it right to begin with, whether or not your marketing and your data is effective. So hopefully this was super helpful. This is the Belterra area. We're looking at the end of February 2024. And if you have more questions like this, feel free to reach out, ianofAustin.com. I appreciate you for watching and subscribing, and I will see you in the next video.